Hello, 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 and welcome to Women's Wisdom Wednesdays, where we come together every Wednesday to empower women just like you, foster connections, and thrive on our journey of surviving womanhood. I'm Kasey Conrad, well-being specialist and whole life coach, and my lovely co-host who is tending to some personal business today, and we're going to miss her. So shout out to you, Bianca Cartin, who is a business and wellness coach. Today, we are so excited because this is our first episode of our third season of Women's Wisdom Wednesday. And today we have a very special guest joining us. Her name is Mary Bolton, and she has an incredible story to share. But before we introduce her, let's take a moment to address you, our wonderful audience. We want to remind you to visit our website at www.survivingwomanhood.com, where you can find valuable resources, connect with other women who are like-minded and community-oriented, and stay updated on our upcoming episodes, webinars, and retreats, as well as workshops. We just finished a wonderful webinar. It was fantastic. We had lovely guests and we had a lot of amazing breakthroughs of self-discovery and people finding their purpose. It was fabulous. So stay tuned for our next one, which will be coming up very soon. And we encourage you to actively participate by asking questions and adding comments below. And if you have a story to share, we would love to hear it. This is a safe space for us to learn and grow together. We'd also like to ask you to share your favorite WWW episodes. You never know who out there might need to hear one of these inspiring stories. Now, let's meet Mary. Mary's narrative unfolds as a powerful testament to resilience and determination. Hailing from Johnson County, Iowa, she spent her formative years on an expansive 80-acre farm, cultivating a deep love for the outdoors and animals, especially the Angus cattle that they raised. I can attest to Mary's love of animals, and I just want to share a personal story. We have just adopted a lovely border collie puppy named Sky from Mary. Two of her dogs, one of them, a champion, sired our beautiful little Sky. And so this is how I met Mary. And she was been such an inspiration to me. And Mary, thank you so much. We absolutely love our little girl. So thank you.
You are very, you are more welcome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Mary's childhood was one of hands-on experiences helping her father care for the cows, mending fences, and literally making hay under the open sky. As the fourth of 6 children, 4 boys, 2 girls, Mary carried the lessons of hard work and strong family bonds into her adult life. Raising 2 beautiful daughters, Michelle and Nicole, and now being blessed with 5 grandchildren. Grandchildren are the best, aren't they, Mary?
Absolutely.
Yes. Her family has remained at the core of her journey. For over 32 years, Mary dedicated herself to the University of Iowa Hospital. Her commitment was born out of a specific career choice, not necessarily, but rather a decision grounded in a stability and the assurance of good health insurance. Approaching retirement, and with her children having grown into independent adults, Mary dared to resurrect a dream, a return to the simplicity and serenity of farm life. And against the backdrop of her dreams, Mary made it happen. She turned the vision she held for so long into a tangible reality. Yay, good for you. Proving that dreams, when nurtured with resilience and determination, can flourish at any age. So let's everybody give a hand to Mary for her determination in following her dreams. That's already so inspirational. And I know we've said the simplicity of farm life, and I can say, just to be sure, simple does not mean easy, right, Mary?
Absolutely not. It's hard work every day, but if you love it, it's well worth it. And I really love it.
Fabulous, fabulous. So we are so privileged to have you here today, Mary, and we're sure your journey is going to serve as an inspiration to many women out there who are wondering if they still could follow their dreams. So let's get
Absolutely.
started. Yes. Can you share some of the challenges that you've encountered during this journey of following your dreams, starting a farm, and how you've managed to find the strength to follow your dream all the way through to fruition, and how you have overcome these concerns and challenges, and finally now come to this place where you are of loving life every day?
It's definitely been a challenge. A lot of it is from being a single person. Growing up on our farm, I was the first daughter. I had 3 older brothers. And so whenever there was work to be done, my dad would try to rally the 3 boys to come and help him. And they had no interest. They had no interest in being in farm life or doing things outside or manual type labor. I was very fortunate that everywhere he went, I was his shadow. So I learned a lot about taking care of livestock, being outdoors, the hard work that's required day in and day out. Livestock has to be fed and cared for. So I'm very thankful that my dad insisted that us kids grow up on the farm and learn what it's like to be there. I don't know what my life would have been like if we'd never had a farm upbringing. My parents got divorced when I was about 12, and there were 4 of us youngest kids still home. And so he left each of us with 2 cows and thought that the 4 of us would work together to take care of them. And as it turned out, that my other siblings had no interest. So I learned from the time I was a teenager to take care of them myself and to make business arrangements with the neighbors to make hay for me on shares, to call the veterinary out and to be responsible for the veterinary bills. So my teenage years were kind of the foundation for me. And I was in love with that life then. And all through my adult years, I thought if ever I get an opportunity, I would like to return back to living on a farm and raising livestock, especially Angus cattle. Loved riding horses, loved working with dogs. And so everything has kind of accumulated back to this has been my life dream forever. Some of the challenges I had were mostly financial. As you'd mentioned, I did work for the University of Iowa. It was not a high paying job, but it was a stable job. And I learned early on that the best I can do is to stay out of debt, not to run up credit cards. I never drove a nice vehicle. I drove whatever I could afford to pay cash for. So I learned to live on less than I made. It was some of the things that anybody could do. So you don't have to be a wealthy person or even have a strong career path to follow your dreams. You just have to be determined to see them through. It was my own divorce. I was married briefly when my second daughter came along. I married the man that I had my first daughter with, and we had a second daughter. And I'd gone into counseling for a year when we were married because we did not get along well. And a lot of things about myself through the counseling. And one of the things that stuck with me is the counselor always told me, you are stronger than you think. And I thought that was a good message for women, is that if you are determined and you are continue to work on your path, that there's no obstacle that you couldn't overcome. So with very limited income, and having finished my job at the hospital, and I was in retirement, I still had a mortgage to pay. I'd never paid for a property outright before, had one on my own. My first house was one that when I had my first daughter, I was on the WIC program. They had started my journey to home ownership by telling me I should apply for a government subsidy to get a house. When Michelle was 2 years old, I qualified and became the first time homeowner. So I didn't have to have a lot of money down. And so I would also tell women, don't be afraid to look around at what things are available for help. That there's a lot of opportunities and people that know if you'll reach out for help as to how to help you. So even though I had supplemented with a subsidy to get my first house, within a few years I had gotten married. We had our second daughter, and then when I wanted to move out to the country, because this was in North Liberty, and in the meanwhile I'd gotten divorced, because even though I really enjoyed the counseling, I'm a huge proponent of people learning a lot about themselves through counseling, and a lot about what it takes to stand up on your own 2 feet and be independent. The bulk of my life has been that way. So I had to support my 2 daughters. I accepted a job at the hospital and was very grateful for it. I had a job that was a lab assistant, and it went running was what we were called. We were called runners. So we'd walk a mile to pick up specimens and take them back for each hour of the day. So during the day, I'd walk 8 or more miles a day. Wow. Which I enjoyed from a country upbringing. Anything that was more active, I would have been probably a poor candidate to sit at a desk or that was stationary. So it suited me, that the movement and the exercise, and the other thing about the job is the health insurance. At one point or another, each of my daughters needed it desperately. My older daughter had thyroid cancer, and the health insurance that we had was critical to me being able to stay out of debt. If we hadn't had health insurance, my path would have been totally different. My younger daughter had an issue with an eye and needed eye surgery. And again, that would have been a huge expense that, as a single mother raising 2 daughters, would have put us into a tailspin. I had a lot of help from my own mom and an older brother who, when things were tight and maybe I didn't get an alimony check or a child support check, because my ex worked construction, and some months were steady income and some months were not. So he paid the bulk of it when he could, but there were months when he couldn't. So I totally was not maybe as independent. I had a lot of family support. I had a lot of friend support. So those things were critical.
I think it's amazing that you say that it would be, you question your independence because you had support. Right. I think we're kind of taught that way. Mm-hmm.
A self-made person. I had a lot of help along the way. I had government subsidy to start with. On my second house, when I moved down to the country, my mom was looking for a place at the same time I was, and I talked her into it. I couldn't afford this acreage on my own. We did not, between the 2 of us. When I sold the first house that had the government subsidy, you have to pay back the subsidy. So I did not have a lot of equity. And we put both of our little bits of equity together and bought a 3-acre place in Johnson County together. And we shared the mortgage payment. And then at the point when she did not want to live out there anymore, and I had accumulated a lot of animals on our property. I had horses, I had sheep, I had dogs, I had ducks. I had a lot of animals as my daughters were growing up there. it was a great house, but it was a lot more house than I needed. It had 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, an attached garage, a detached garage. But I really needed less house and more space for animals. So as my daughters grew up and got jobs of their own and moved out and started their own families, I realized that I needed a lot less house and a lot more land, and was in the search for that. And in Johnson County, land is so much more expensive that I extended my search outside of Johnson County. And then I had a friend who saw a farm auction sign on her way back and forth to work. She commuted much further than I did, and she told me about it. And I went to the farm auction, and that's how I'd gotten this farm. So in the spring of 2013, in April, I'd gone to farm auction with my youngest daughter and her husband. They came along as my moral support, and I had a message from the banker as to how much I could afford to bid at the auction. And so the bidding started up, and I was very excited and very nervous about the whole prospect of reaching the limit of what he had told me I could afford to bid. I'd gotten outbid one more time, and I conversed with my daughter and her husband, and they said, go ahead and bid once more. Each bid raised it $100 more an acre on 49 acres. So each time we raised the bid once, it was $4,900 more dollars, or nearly $5,000 per bid. So they told me they would help me if I could bid one more time, more than I was supposed to, more than I was allowed by my banker to the amount of money I had. And as it turned out, that made it the winning bid, that I had the winning bid with one more bid. And
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it was a lot of pushing the envelope a little bit. Again, having family members there to say, we will help you and support you if you take this plunge. And we did a little celebration dance, and people thought we were crazy. A little whoop right there in front of all the farmers who'd come to that. I was lucky to have it, and lucky to have their support there.
That's a great story. I want to talk again. I just want to circle back quickly to this thought and this feeling of independence, this impression we have of being independent, right? I think that it is amazing, your story. So many pieces of it are so amazing and such inspiration to those women out there who are going through similar things, being able to share with them the government programs that are available, because a lot of people don't know, and they're not going to call you up and say, hey, we have this program for you, right? And also to be able to have the wherewithal to continue to slog through all of the paperwork and hoops you have to go through, which you didn't mention, but that are definitely a part.
It took 2 years the time I filled out the application until I got to the top of the list.
Right. And I think, but to be able to stick with it. And I think that's amazing. And for women to understand that, and to know that being independent means doing things for yourself, but taking opportunities that are presented.
Absolutely.
Right? Making up your own mind. So you decided what you wanted to do, and you had support. That's independence, right? You decided what you wanted to do, and you found the support and the help that you needed to make those dreams come true. I think that's kind of close to the definition of being independent, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah. Independent doesn't mean doing it alone.
Right.
Right? It doesn't mean doing it alone. It just means making decisions for yourself and following through.
Absolutely, with the follow through. The things I had to learn along the way about being self-sufficient. I don't have days where I'm, bored, or days that every day there's some challenge to it, but I always want to lean into it. If somebody tells you that it can't be done, I always tell people, like, watch me. I want to say, like, I'm going to make it happen.
And what an amazing role model for your daughters as well, right? I think that's the fantastic part. So I want to move along and ask you, how did you personally process and adjust to all of these challenges? You've mentioned a number of challenges that you overcame, right? Or moved through. So how did you adjust to those challenges and the transformations that came from them? And basically, what kind of strategies or practices helped you to find that strength and independence along the way?
I was gonna say, I guess I've always just been determined, that when obstacles are presented, I find a way to get through them, or what it's going to take to get past them. I don't know what other strategy I'd have to offer people other than keep going and keep looking for, keep pushing forward, keep on the path of what's going to make you happy. I'm a big believer in the pursuit of happiness. So those things that you find happiness or joy in, those are the things that you would push forward to do. I guess I'm not sure about what kind of life strategy advice I could offer anybody else other than to keep pursuing your dream until you can make it a reality, because it absolutely will. If you're determined to have it and you won't accept anything less than going forward and anything less than getting there, then I think you'll realize it.
I think that's a very in a nutshell description of your strategy, right? Choose your goal and don't accept anything less. Continue to move forward in the direction of that goal.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a beautiful strategy.
And for sure it's not easy, and for sure there's days or there's people that might question your choices, or whether it's possible, or whether it's sane even, or
I've been there.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a moment to address our audience again and invite all of you to actively engage with our Facebook Live here. If you have any comments or questions for Mary, please share them in the comments and we will be sure and answer them for you. And thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. So Mary, what kind of advice or suggestions do you have for women who are walking a similar path and are looking to navigate their personal and professional, because would you call yourself a professional farmer?
At this point, sure. And I was going to say, the state of Iowa and the USDA, that they recognize that. So I was going to say, and I do apply for some farm subsidies. I figure if the richest farmers can accept subsidies, I know we have our own Senator Grassley, who's a lifelong farmer. When government programs become available, I know that he avails himself of whatever funds are there. And so over the last 10 years, occasionally I'll get a little deposit in my account for a drought situation, or a time when the prices of livestock has dropped well below what was normal. So there's some little subsidies. I might get a few $100 or maybe $1,000. So it's minor, but every little bit helps. I'm still on a pretty strict budget. I was lucky enough that the farm became paid for this last fall. So I no longer do mortgage. So for the first time in my life, I own the property outright. I no longer have to say, the bank and I own it. I can now say it's mine. So I would tell people, the finances for me was a huge challenge. And as I reach out to the neighbors around me now that don't know me very well, I'll ask them about renting a bull or helping rebuild a roof. And I'll find that they'll contact Don, the man in my life for the last 10 years. I was going to say they'll call back and ask him. And I try not to take it personally that they won't answer my messages. They won't call me back, but they're more comfortable talking man to somebody else. So there's going
Yeah.
to be a little bit, and I don't know that it's a prejudice or what it is. I think they're more comfortable, and I try just, don't not to take it personally that they would rather talk to somebody that they're comfortable with. And then Don will come to me and say, what do you want to do? How are we going to handle this? And together we usually work out a strategy.
That's interesting. That's very interesting and a wonderful suggestions. I really appreciate how you have used this strategy of finding the money, right? Like there's money out there, and I think that this is a wonderful piece of this particular podcast, is to let people know there's all kinds of money out there if you look for it, right? Especially if you live in the US. There are lots of government programs for different types of professions and for different income levels, and all you need to look for them. Again, they're not going to drop out of the sky into your lap. You need to research
Right.
that. But there are places, and maybe you can share some of those links with me, and I can put them into this Facebook Live in the comments below.
Okay,
Right?
I was gonna say we deal with the Farm Service Agency out of Washington, so the FSA, and they are really good about year to year. They'll contact me or send an email out and ask if we would like to apply for the same programs we were enrolled in the year before. So that there's definitely resources. I know there's also resources for female farmers. That there aren't very many of us out there, but I know a few other women who are running the farm where they are for one reason or another. I know a woman whose husband passed away of cancer recently, and she's continuing to raise cattle on their farm. So it's doable, but it's not easy. But
yeah, but that's fantastic. All of that will be so helpful, because really, I think, again, and the same thing with the people calling and asking to talk to Don instead of to you, that's
right.
something we as women, especially over 40, have dealt with our entire lives, right? And
Absolutely.
I think for myself in particular, and I don't know if I kind of heard this a little bit in your tone when you were talking, but for me, there was a time when that annoyed me so much. And I might rail against it and say, what are you doing? I'm the one who's making the choices, and, my little rant that I would go on. Now I just have this in my head. When that happens, I'm thinking, oh, if they only knew.
Well, there's that. And they'll ask Don a question and he will say, I don't know, I have to ask Mary. And I go, like, they could have just called me back and I could have had a
Right?
conversation with them.
Yeah.
And we could have solved it and saved time.
Yes.
And so that's just one of the things I think you're gonna either deal with it or accept. I don't get angry about it. I just it's a little bit frustrating because I think it wastes some time and
Right.
involves another link that wouldn't have to be there. But I'm very grateful that it is. I mean, we do get things resolved eventually. It just is a little bit more time consuming, and there's a little bit of frustration there of I'm going to be the one the decision anyway. So if you'd ask me directly, I could answer your questions, or if you tell me what the options are, I could consider those and make a decision.
It just is puts a finer point on the fact that we need more podcasts like this and more women to come out and say, look what I'm doing. And so we can help men along with their social education, right? So that's how I like to put it. So
I think that
I want to move on to something a little bit more personal. And that's, how has this journey impacted you, your perspective on life, and how has it shown the importance to you of self-care?
in a lot of ways, I feel very, very blessed that things worked out as well as it did. So I have a tendency to count my blessings even when the days are hard. So for my own self-care, if I have a day that things go badly, or maybe an animal dies that we've been, dealing and struggling to medicate and nurture along, and it doesn't work, I have to think about, don't get too down on each little setback, but look at the rest of the creatures that still need you and need you to be strong enough to, continue going forward, and so that there's not so much self-doubt there as to what I could have done differently, and not to dwell on the smaller setbacks along the way. And there's those happen on a regular basis, I guess, on the farm. If we have livestock, sometimes not all of them are going to make it.
Right. And so what is something specific that you can share that you do just for you?
I always do a little bit of time of what things, make me happy at the end of the day. I can take a walk around the farm and just look around and say, I'm very happy to be here. There's some things that I do that are just for me. I think it's important that we take some time to just do those things that are under my pursuit of happiness thing, recognize what things make you happy. It's different for everybody. I like being outside. I like taking the walk. I like the sunshine and fresh air. And we're fortunate now that things are looking a lot better than they did a few weeks ago, when it was pretty and pretty cold, and things were difficult. So I try to take some time each day, or to look forward to that there's going to be better days ahead. The winter doesn't last forever. This is the last day of January, so I always figure if we get through January, we can survive the winter, that we have the worst of it behind us.
Good. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I want to summarize a little bit some of the things that you've said, because I think this is such an important conversation, because so often women get to a particular age and they think, oh, if only I would have done X, Y, or Z, right? But now it's too late, and I'm not going to be able to do it. But I think your story is such an amazing perspective, and can help shift those kinds of thoughts and feelings in other women who may have had some other dream that they'd wanted to pursue in their younger life, and it stuck with them, but they feel like it's a futile effort now, or they're too old, or they don't have the money, or they don't have the support. That your story is going to help inspire them to go back and revisit that, and look at it in a whole different way, and help them to know that they can pursue those dreams now, no matter what their age is, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, I'm in my upper 60s now, turned 66 last fall. So I would tell people that you're absolutely not going to be too old to pursue your dreams. I've just now became the homeowner at 65, or and so if you still have the dream there, and you can nurture it and help it grow and give it some attention, and there's no reason why anyone can't pursue whatever they would like to be, whatever makes you happy, whatever is your joy. I'm big into the pursuit of happiness, so whatever makes people happy, and it could be anything.
Beautifully
Whether,
said.
yeah, traveling or helping other people. For a lot of people, or it could be any dream at all. You're never too old to pursue it and make it a reality.
Great. Thank you so much. That was wonderfully stated. Wonderfully stated. So now let's just take a moment to appreciate you, Mary, for sharing this wonderful, inspiring journey with us. Your strength and resilience are truly remarkable. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me. This has been a great for me too.
Good.
Great fun.
Good. And we want to invite all of our viewers to share your own stories, suggest future guests or topics, and actively engage with the Surviving Womanhood community. And please remember to mark your calendars and join us for our next Women's Wisdom Wednesdays on February 7th, right here, 12 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 10 p.m. in the UAE, when we will have the privilege of hosting another remarkable guest who will be sharing her inspiring story. Mary, your journey has been a testament again to the strength of the human spirit and the power of determination. So thank you so, so much. Is there anything that you would like to say to our audience before we conclude?
No, I was gonna say, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to it. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope everyone goes forward and pursues their dreams. Think about what it is and go after it 100%.
Lovely. So again, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to you, Mary, for joining us and sharing your story today. I'm sure it's going to serve as an inspiration to many. And if you've been touched by Mary's story or you have your own experience to share, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. We value your voice and we want to create a community where we can all learn and grow together. And remember, you can catch up on any of our past Women's Wisdom Wednesday episodes at our website, www.survivingwomanhood.com, and click on podcasts. Together, let's face every challenge, rise above adversity, and support one another on our journey of surviving womanhood. See you next time. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.